Commander Elias Eli Hartman adjusted the dolphin gray controls of his submersible Equinox 1 as it sliced through the obsidian expanse of Epsilon 5's northern trench. Beyond the reinforced viewport, bioluminescent plankton drifted, like embers in a dying fire, their cobalt and lavender glimmers giving the surrounding darkness a phantasmagoric sheen. The pressure outside hovered near 800 atmospheres, enough to crush anything not built to the highest specifications of crystalline titanium hull plating. Eli's knuckles whitened on the joystick as he mentally reviewed the mission briefing for the 10th time. Retrieve 3 quantum energy crystals from the trench floor, a resource the United Earth Coalition believed could revolutionize interstellar propulsion. Despite the official directive, he couldn't shake the nagging doubt that he'd been sent simply because no one else volunteered for such a perilous dive. 6 months ago, a rival corporation had sent other vessels into these depths, only to lose contact without explanation. The Coalition's scientific advisors claimed the trench was geologically stable, but rumors whispered of something else, something vast and alive. Eli tried to dismiss it as rumor. Officially, there was no evidence of megafauna in these abyssal zones. Unofficially, whispered sonar pings and unexplained hums had cropped up in exploration logs. Eli tapped his comms unit. Command, this is Equinox 1. Depth 9,000 meters and descending. All systems nominal. He listened as the ping of a static-laden response crackled through. Proceed with caution, Hartman. Retrieval zone in 2 minutes' time. Avoid sediment plumes. Visibility is critical. Static, he exhaled. 2 minutes. His suit's internal life support readout chimed quietly, reminding him of the dwindling 38 hours of oxygen and power. The trench's walls narrowed, enclosing Equinox 1 within an architectural horror of jagged basalt and spindly spires of living coral. The floodlights cut arc blades through the void, revealing schools of whale-sized translucent fish, creatures that glowed in a sickly green when disturbed. Their long, eel-like bodies slithered past, their iridescent scales fracturing the light into kaleidoscopes. He made a mental note. Collect biota samples later, if he returned. Then abruptly, his instrument cluster registered an anomalous heat signature. At these depths, the water temperature hovered near freezing. Even the hottest geothermal vents were logged long ago. This new reading surged to levels unimagined, momentarily tripping the sub's emergency thermal filters. The warning siren beeped in his ears and the viewport blurred as ice crystals formed against the outer shell. Eli's heart thudded. He overrode the safety interlocks, recalibrating the temperature sensors to focus on the anomaly. The core reading, 150 degrees HC. Something here was generating more heat than most volcanic vents ever could. He glanced at the sonar overlay. The thermal source was enormous, nearly 200 meters in diameter, and pulsating in rhythmic intervals like a living engine. He zoomed in with the high-resolution forward scan, but the image that resolved on his holoscreen made him freeze. A massive form lay sprawled on a platform of skeletal coral, its proportions far beyond any known marine animal. Its silvery scales, etched with faint glowing runes, reflected his floodlights in ribboned waves. Great membranous wings, folded awkwardly against its sides, spanned nearly 100 meters at rest, their edges serrated like razor fins. Its head, elongated and crowned with backward curving horns, lay tilted as if it were dying. Beside it, long gill slits dripped pale phosphorescence. Gee, just what the hell? Eli whispered. The fusion cell interface ports on the creature's flanks flickered weakly with dying light. If they completely failed, the beast would plunge into irreversible hypoxia. No known ecosystem could sustain such a leviathan without a constant energy source. He swallowed the lump in his throat and keyed his comms. Command, do you copy? I found an entity, I'm not sure what it is. Static persisted, no response. Unsettled, he toggled the sub's external robotic arms online, their multi-jointed servos clicking in the cramped cabin. His plan, retrieve the crystals and leave, suddenly felt futile. The creature's gills were fanning, but ever slower, sending clouds of sediment into the surrounding trench like drifting ghosts. Every instinct screamed at him to keep a safe distance, but he couldn't ignore the imploring glow in the creature's vast eye, even through the murk. He transmitted a short-range distress interpulse. If there were any other explorers or predators nearby, they'd know he was here. Then, with trembling resolve, he initiated Protocol Omega. Prepare fusion cell drone. Equinox 1 angled sideways, positioning itself alongside the dragon-like alien so that its manipulator arm could extend without risking the main thruster's disturbing silt. The sub's thermal imaging camera traced veins of heat coursing through the creature's rib-like exoskeleton. Eli synchronized the first fusion cell drone release sequence. "It's now or never," he muttered, deploying a cylindrical capsule about 2 meters long. The drone's grappling claws latched onto a ridge of the creature's chest. The section of exoskeleton where the interface port lay was half buried under a folded fin. The drone nudged aside the fin tip, revealing a shallow cavity lined with shimmering biocrystal filaments. With painstaking precision, it aligned the fusion cell's locking prongs with the filaments, like a key fitting into a profoundly alien lock. Eli's gloved fingers danced over the control pad, guiding the drone inward. The moment the prongs made contact, a pulse of radiant warmth flowed from the fusion cell into the creature's core. The gill slits snapped open, belching incandescent water that hissed against the sub's sonar pingers. The creature shuddered violently, convulsing as bioelectric currents flared along its spine in iridescent cascades. Sediment eruptions billowed upward, shrouding Equinox 1 in a whirling cloud. Eli gripped the joystick so hard his knuckles rattled. "Report, status," he barked into the comms, though he knew no one was listening. The fusion cell's diagnostics lit green. Thermal readings spiked and then gradually tapered, settling into a stable range. Through the viewport, he saw the dragon-like alien's massive head lift from the coral spire. Its slitted eyes, once dull, now glowed with a deep emerald radiance that illuminated the surrounding gloom. It braced its bulk against the trench floor, its great wings flexing as if waking from a 1,000-year slumber. Each wing beat sent shockwaves through the water. The trench walls quivered as if acknowledging the creature's resurgence. Eli felt the sub's entire cabin vibrate. "It's alive," he whispered, more to himself than to any unseen listener. A hiss of steam escaped the creature's nostrils as water instantly superheated around its maw. The bioluminescent sea life scattered in a kaleidoscopic panic. Then, lifting its head fully, it fixed Eli with an inscrutable gaze. For a moment, silence reigned, so absolute that Eli could hear nothing but his own ragged breathing and the hammering of his heart. Slowly, the creature inclined its head, its long skeletal tail tracing arcs through the water. It beckoned him, an invitation laced with latent power. Eli's mind roiled. Should he obey? Descend further into the unknown? He glanced at the mission timer. Still 20 hours left before automatic return sequencing. He could pretend he saw nothing, gather the crystals and slip away. But the creature's presence pulsed through his bones, awakening something primal. Curiosity, compassion, and a whisper of destiny. He keyed the thrusters. "Equinox 1 moving deeper," he announced, though no one heard. His sub drifted after the dragon, plunging into a darker corridor of the trench. Each meter peeled back more layers of mystery. Bioluminescent corals forming cathedral-like arches, vent fields of crimson-tipped spires exhaling toxic plumes, and shoals of creatures so alien their very existence defied classification. Somewhere, ahead, hidden in fathoms beyond sight, lay the crystals Eli had come for. But it was impossible to think about that now. The dragon's revived heartbeat echoed through the sub's sensors. Its wings poised like a manta ready to soar, as though inviting him not only into a forgotten citadel, but into a story that predated humanity itself, a story he was now inexorably bound to. As he followed, the trench swallowed them both into its final shadows. The mission objective faded. In its place dawned a new purpose, to uncover the truth behind the dragon's existence. and to decide whether to save more than just human ambition beneath these crushing depths. Equinox 1 drifted in the eerie calm that followed Shinyathra's awakening. The dragon glided ahead, carving through the inky water with effortless grace, each wingbeat stirring faint trails of phosphorescent plankton. Eli watched through the viewport as the trench walls receded into darkness behind them, replaced by a narrowing chasm that plunged deeper than any human craft had ever ventured. He felt the sub's hull groan as it registered the increasing pressure, over 9,000 meters down, and yet Shinyathra paid no heed, its lithe form ever steady, guiding him toward an uncharted heart of the abyss. Without warning, the chasm widened into a gargantuan cavern whose ceiling was lost in shadows. Dozens of thermal vents lined the floor in concentric circles, their plumes of superheated water boiling into immediate steam. Bioluminescent corals, shapes Eli had never catalogued, blazed electric blue and violet, casting an otherworldly glow across the expanse. The walls were sheathed in opalescent crystal formations, each crystalline prow jutting like a spear of refracted light. Embedded within these crystals were veins of pulsing luminescence, rhythmically brightening and dimming, as if these stones themselves were breathing. At the center of the cavern, Shinyathra hovered before a monumental structure carved directly from the cavern wall, a citadel of living rock and metal intertwined, spires ringed like the ribcages of titans, while buttresses of smooth black alloy jutted skyward. At their intersections, glowing runes etched in a coral-like script pulsed, with the same heartbeat as the dragon's newly restored energy core. Every surface shimmered with iridescent lichen that shifted color in response to Shinyathra's presence. The sub's exterior lights revealed statuesque reliefs of creatures half-serpent, half-winged, battling long-forgotten foes. It was a city, no mere ruin, but a sentinel fortress designed to endure the ravages of time and ocean pressure. Eli's breath caught. He guided Equinox 1 closer, the forward-scanning sonar revealing an elaborate array of conduits and biocrystal, arrays that snaked along the cavern floor toward the citadel. The fusion cell he'd installed in Shinyathra's chest glowed brightly, and its power lines, unseen by human eyes, seemed to thread directly into the citadel's heart. It was as if Shinyathra had not just regained life but had re-established the citadel's energy matrix, reactivating dormant systems that had slumbered for eons. A sudden pulse of light flared from the citadel's core, and Eli's universal translator, a compact AI module attached to the sub, warned him of incoming data. Before he could react, a holographic projection erupted from one of the crystal monoliths, a three-dimensional star map, superimposed over shimmering runes floating in mid-water. The projection's centerpiece was a cluster of stars arranged in a pattern he didn't recognize, but the translator overlay identified them as Laris Constellation Deep Core Sector. Beneath the map, glyphs swirled into coherent symbols. The translator rendered them into fragmented phrases: Guardians of the Flux, Codex of Interstice, Heritage of the First Tide. Shinyathra let out a low, resonant bellow that vibrated through the sub's hull. Eli gripped the console, forcing himself to focus. The dragon's motion triggered another wave of glyphs, ancient diagrams of what appeared to be crystalline reactors, arcane propulsion mechanisms, and starship schematics. The translator worked furiously, spitting out partial translations. Ancestral rite of continuum. In the era of Cayenne eclipse, the scaly ones forged the citadel to shelter knowledge beyond the abyss. Upon the final sundering, guardians were to awaken when the flux waned. Eli's pulse quickened. Suddenly, the sub's cameras automatically switched to external 3D scanning, began recording as corridors of the citadel slid open like colossal gates. A torrent of bioluminescent fluid flooded out, revealing a vast subterranean plaza carved into the rock. Pillars shaped like the bones of impossible leviathans rose from the floor, each engraved with stigmas that pulsed in tune with Shinyathra's heart. Effigies of beings wearing helmets resembling coiled horns stood sentinel, their stony eyes carved with expressions of solemn vigilance. Despite the sub's reinforced exterior, Eli felt like a trespasser in a realm older than humanity itself. Ajin Yathra, he murmured, attempting to broadcast through the sub's external speakers. What is this place? What happened here? There was no direct response, only a shifting of air currents as Ajin Yathra turned its immense head toward him. Through the viewport, the dragon's eyes glowed fiercely as if pouring knowledge directly into his mind. In that instant, Eli experienced a deluge of memories, not his own, but those of an alien race. He saw spindrift cities floating on oceans of starlight, creatures sculpting living citadels from biocrystal, and a great cataclysm known as the Final Abyss, where tectonic earthquakes tore continents apart and sank entire civilizations beneath 1,000-meter tides. He saw Ajin Yathra's ancestors, winged guardians patrolling oceanic realms, ensuring balance between surface life and the hidden world below. He saw the ritual that bound them to the citadel. Should the pulse of the flux fail, a single guardian would awaken to rekindle the energy and maintain equilibrium. And then, he saw humanity, tiny and ephemeral, arriving on the shores of Epsilon 5 long after the Final Abyss, stumbling onto fractured relics of this primordial order. He recognized Earth's ancient legends of dragons and underwater kingdoms, now recontextualized as misremembered echoes of Ajin Yathra's lineage. His heart pounded with the realization that human mythology had once brushed against this reality, only to forget and drift into fable. The vision receded as abruptly as it had begun. Eli staggered back, clutching the console. The sub's warning. Lights blinked erratically, its processors overloaded by the flood of alien data. Regaining his composure, he queried his console. Translator, compile all glyphs and project a summary. The screen flickered and a text box formed. Citation: the citadel of the first tide constructed by the Scaly Ones 12,000 cycles ago. Purpose: safeguard interstellar knowledge and regulate oceanic flux fields. Guardian Ajin Yathra, last of its brood, deactivated after energy depletion. Civilization's demise. The Final Abyss triggered by tectonic warfare among the ancients. Prophecy: should a being from the stars awaken the Guardian, unity between worlds will be restored. Eli's breath caught as he read the last line, unity between worlds. He looked at Ajin Yathra, whose wings now extended fully, each membrane veined with luminescent filaments. The dragon's posture was not one of aggression but of solemn invitation. It dipped its head, brushing its snout against the sub's viewport, as if to affirm a new pact between them. A distant rumble shook the cavern. The ground beneath them shifted as if reacting to Ajin Yathra's reawakening. Crystal spires quivered, and a chorus of harmonic resonances emitted from the citadel's core. The stones themselves sang in frequencies calibrated to oceanic currents, an ancient song that Eli felt in his bones. He glanced at his life support gauge. Oxygen 50%, hull integrity nominal, power reserves at 75. There would be time to explore further, but the data he'd just witnessed had rewritten his mission. The crystals he'd been sent to retrieve were mere fragments of Ajin Yathra's being, essential components of the Citadel's flux stabilization. Removing them without first understanding their purpose would mean plunging Epsilon 5 into another cataclysm. Eli keyed the comms again. Command, this is Hartman. Mission update. I have located a living construct and energy guardian at the trench's base. I'm transmitting holographic logs and translator readouts now, awaiting instructions. He paused, expecting a reply. Instead, a single line of garbled static returned, then silence. He frowned. Communication might be blocked by the cavern's geological overburden. The weight of responsibility settled onto him like the oppressive pressure outside. He alone had seen the citadel of the first tide, alone had heard the prophecy of unity between worlds. What he chose next would decide whether humanity would remain ignorant, plundering crystals for profit and risking another final abyss, or ascend into a partnership with an ancient sentinel whose wisdom could uplift civilizations. As if sensing his turmoil, Ajin Yathra rose higher, wheels of golden light spiraling outward from its chest. A corridor in the citadel's core slid open, revealing a passage that descended even deeper into the planet's crust. The dragon let out a sonorous call, neither threat nor greeting but an exhortation. Follow, and learn the Codex of Interstus. Eli's pulse thundered. There was no turning back. He stepped onto the sub's external walkway, secured himself in the thrusters, and prepared to dock with the Citadel's docking port, which already began to glow with welcoming light. In that moment, the truth crystallized. He was not merely a diver retrieving crystals. He was the first human to rekindle the flame of an interstellar alliance buried beneath alien oceans. The weight of that destiny left him pale, his reflection cast in the sub's viewport more spectral than the bioluminescent corals around him. He tightened his grip on the hatch release and whispered, "Lead the way." As the hatch clicked open and he plunged into the unknown heart of the Citadel, the dragon's emerald eyes shone with ancient pride and a promise of revelation that would bind two worlds forever.